Good morning. On my last video we finished here on what would have been the Barnsley aqueduct. Today I'm going to show you the route from here up to Carlton. I say up because it does feel like you're always going up from it. But to give you an idea, to begin with, we have to go up these steps. And at the top is where the aqueduct would have finished. That's how big it was. The canal was stopped being used about 70 years ago. And the landscape has changed very much, and that's why it always feels like you're going up. But you've got to remember, there were no locks on this part, so the only way a canal can go up is with a lock. But it stayed on one level, and I'll explain why. So we're now at the top of where the aqueduct would have finished. It must have been absolutely massive. We're now going to follow the canal along here. There's not much left of the canal from here to Carlton, but we're pretty much going to follow the towpath all the way. At this point you've got the towpath on the left. You've got a bit of a football pitch where the canal would have been. Over here was the site of a former bridge called Bladen Bridge. When I first set up the group, Facebook group, I posted for about 2 years the deaths that had occurred on the canal, and one of them was at this point. A little girl fell in the canal and another little boy jumped in, and actually he saved her life. Unfortunately, due to exhaustion, he drowned and died. Now, one of his relatives a few years ago actually did a post about his life and more details about this incident, and it's actually available on YouTube. So we're now in, I think from memory, we're in what's known as Cliff Woods. There's the towpath, and just below me is what would have been the canal. Obviously no water in it today. So further along we've still got the canal down there on my right, and then we come across this structure, which is the remains of the viaduct that went over to Barnsley Main. The railway actually came from Carlton, which back in the day, Carlton was actually the main train station for Barnsley, not Barnsley Centre. This viaduct went across two canals. The first one would have been here, which is the Barnsley Canal, and then right at the other side, near Barnsley Main, it would have gone over the Dearne and Dove Canal. And from top you can just see Barnsley Main, so I'll go up and see if we can zoom in on it. So I'm now on top of the viaduct, so the canal would have just been just below us, and let me see if I can zoom in on it. Yeah, you can see Barnsley Main there, where the train would have gone over. Also just below me here, right at the bottom, is a freshwater spring, the only freshwater spring in the centre of Barnsley, and obviously covered in overgrowth. Actually stood on the railway line here. Still on top of the viaduct, just over there through the overgrowth is where I was stood. Just walked back, just found this structure in the ground. I'm assuming it's something to do with railways, but if anybody knows what it is, please comment. Where I am now, I have to go up. Yeah, that's right, up, and no locks. So the canal would have gone over there to the left, and it's all been filled in. I now have to take a footpath all the way up there. When I get up there, I will explain why I'm going up and why the canal has been filled in. So I'm actually basically in the middle of the canal route. Sliders wardrobes over there used to be the open, and again the canal would have gone more or less where this barrier is today. And the reason I had to go up is that this has all been filled in. Looking at all the photos, the canal would have been, I estimate, about 30 foot below where we are. I've been told that, and I've had heard this from a few people. There were some stables just at the other side of Opin, and they're still there to this day, but they've obviously been buried. So from here to Carlton there's nothing of the canal, there's just the towpath that we're going to cross and follow. Yeah, we've just crossed the road. The canal would have been to my right, we're on the towpath, but there's no evidence of the canal whatsoever, so if you didn't know, to anybody else this should just be a normal footpath you're walking on. So we've now come out next to a main road. Yeah, well, a main road, it's a road that goes down to Lunwood. There would have been a bridge going over the canal, and I think from memory it was called Little Worth Bridge or something like that. And we'll go across here going towards Monkbretton, where I think there might just be some evidence of the canal. Right, we're now roughly between Lunwood and Monkbretton. Lunwood is over there, Monkbretton is up there, and this is the bit of evidence I think is of the canal, but it's hard to tell on the maps. Might be, might be not. Now the canal basically did a turn and went across there. As you can see, it's up. I'm not going to say up because 70 years ago all that wasn't there. What this is the remains of Monkbretton mud stack, and when the mine and canal closed, the mud stack was redistributed over the area, which has made this mound where you go up. So we're going to go over the other side of that and show you where Monkbretton Colliery was and where the canal was. So Monkbretton Colliery was just roughly there. The canal was over there somewhere, I think, and what we're following is actually the old railway line on the viaduct that I mentioned before. Just seen this, smelt it. So we're obviously on the what was the mud stack of Monkbretton Colliery, and what often happens in Barnsley, especially in hot weather, is that the mud stacks will set on fire like we have here, and obviously that's because of all the coal and very easy to ignite. So I'm now, you can't see it, but just above me is the bridge in at Monkbretton. That's the canal on the left. It would have gone under a bridge through there, through red ferns. There's no evidence of the canal through red ferns, and I'll have to take a path around it. Red ferns were very reliant on the canal before. They used to be at Twyble Street next to the canal, and then they had a new factory here that went, and the canal went straight through it. The canal was very, very wide at this point. On a previous video we were always walking on the left of the canal, and now we're on the right of it. So somewhere between here and the Opin, the canal towpath switched sides. I don't know where, there's nothing to look at to see that. So I'm now at the other side of red ferns, just come out, and I'm following this path. Somewhere along this path the canal would have come out from red ferns, but it's impossible to say because there's just no evidence whatsoever. Somewhere around here the canal would have come across. Obviously back in the day this road wasn't here. Again, no evidence whatsoever, so I can't show you anything. And I'm going to have to follow a path now to Carlton. Can't follow the canal because there's nothing to see. Well, we'll see. So the canal would have gone through the middle of here. We're near Carlton now. Red ferns in the background. For anybody who's trying to get the bearings and knows, this is where the Barnsley Club for model aeroplanes, this is what they use. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think roughly where them trees are is where the canal was. So I'm now on Shore Lane in Carlton. The canal would have come from that direction under a bridge and over here where we now pick up the towpath and the canal in water again, which I'll do on my next which will do all the way up to Cold Head Inlet, which is more or less in water all the way.